So as we get this lined up, what we'll do is we'll talk through a few things. Basically, the pharmaceutical company I was working with was a carve-out from a larger company, and as a standalone new pharmaceutical company, we were charged with building a complete infrastructure in 1 year. So we're talking about digital asset management system, CRM system, automated marketing systems, ERP systems, supply chain, email, calendar, absolutely everything. And with $1 billion operation, which had no infrastructure, shared services with the parent company for 12 months, the clock more or less started ticking. So, within 12 months, quite a lot of things to achieve, and effectively, just like Brexit, the clock started ticking. There were no extensions, no negotiations, and definitely no backstops. The shared services we were using as the company were being turned off on the dot 12 months later. So, therefore, day one, what do we need to achieve? What do we need to pitch to the board? What do we need to acquire? Which order shall we buy? And many of you will have answered many of these questions, though, of course, not necessarily all at the same time to the board. So a couple of choice ones here to think about. What systems to drive the commercial brand value? And again, you'll notice that we're broadening this out from simply your digital asset management system. What systems are going to drive that commercial brand value? Marketing automation? Is it your CRM? Is it your digital asset? Is it your sales automation? Is it your medical, legal, and regulatory content platform? We're working in pharmaceuticals. Which order will we deploy these systems? Can we do it in under a year? Is this a cost or investment? Many of you are service providers. You've got your technology companies. You're here with your stands hoping to generate business. Some of you work for commercial organizations that have stuff to sell. Others of you may work in agencies, but wherever you work, whatever service you provide, will be touching any of these particular systems. I did have the answer to all of these questions at some point. Before we go any further, let's talk about what an asset means within pharmaceuticals. So, this is a single digital asset. What is it? It's content on an iPad. Your sales rep goes to your physician. Dear doctor, I've got this new drug. It's called OxyContin. Here, you can watch a video clip. You can have the transcript of this professor speaking, saying OxyContin is great. This isn't OxyContin, by the way, and our company does not market OxyContin. Just using the word to capture your attention. Here is the transcript of what this professor has said. Here is the medical references of the clinical publications, which has said OxyContin is great. Here are some other peer-reviewed content, and also here is a voice transcript. Doctor says, great, can you show me where OxyContin is great for pain and it's non-addictive? Can you show me on this digital asset where the peer-reviewed PDF stating that has been reviewed by the FDA, OxyContin is great for pain, non-addictive? If you can't show me this, I'm not going to prescribe it because I think OxyContin might be addictive. So, this digital asset, you may think, comprises of lots of little bits. And so hold that thought. Where we work in pharmaceuticals, this is a single digital asset. All of the sub-assets within it, approved by legal, regulatory, medical, all of the sub-assets within this are tagged and talking to your CRM system. All of the assets and the videos and all of these other layers of pictures and contents come together on this asset, which is on an iPad. It's not connected to the web, neither is it an app. So it's a 3 or 4 or 5 dimensional asset, which is put into 1 million languages in 1 million countries, distributed all at once. Okay? So that's sort of the complexity that we're dealing with. And unless it's checked, it's approved, and it's medically backed up, our sales reps or other people using the content may say the wrong things and people will die. So that's why in healthcare, which is a highly regulated industry, the content we work with, the systems we work with, are extremely expensive and complex, but that's the case for a reason. So, as we look at specifically our digital asset management system, what's the business case for it? So, now we've got 10 months left. We haven't signed any contracts yet. We're still looking at vendors, still trying to convince the board. They understand CRM, they understand email. What's digital asset management system? Well, board, chairman, CEO. This is why we need this digital asset management system. It's a business imperative. All of our brand marketeers need a way to deliver the content and communicate the value of our medicines and our brand to our doctors in a way so that our doctors can understand it and to bridge the gap between the perceived value and the actual value of that brand. And everything that you are all doing in digital asset management, delivering all of this content to your consumers, you are all also attempting to bridge the value of the brand, the actual value, and the perceived value of what that brand is. I'll just pick out a few choice ones here because in the next 15 minutes we'll go quite quickly. Number 3, it should enable our content to talk to our CRM system. Agents may come in to have a chat with me. We create this content, we create that content. Does it talk to our CRM? No, not interested. Is that content you are creating tagged so that the metadata is working in the right way, so that we can drive the artificial intelligence I'll come on to later? No, not interested. Our digital asset management system is going to unlock the power of the expensive CRM infrastructure your organizations have required. If you Google, 3 months ago, Roche have spent $200 million on a CRM digital asset management system. The month before, Novo Nordisk have spent $150 million on similar systems. Every single month within pharma, we are spending upwards of 150, 200, $250 million on these systems. So it's a significant spend, significant investments, and these systems need to work. And they cannot work unless we're generating the content and delivering that content through the systems to the people who need it. Rationale, of course, if you're able to, and we'll come on to how we can automate some of this content generation, reducing the hard and soft costs of doing the business. Money, time, friction, and asset failure. So, I've got 5 slides left, and I'm sure I'm racing through quite quickly for time. Let's have a look at when I began working in pharma, and I'm a commercial marketeer. I'm a marketing operations person. I look after systems and brands and 20, 30 countries. So all of these activities are not just limited to your office or your department or your country. We're looking at many, many countries, all of the people, and driving them to the same workflow with the same outputs. So 15 years ago, of course, we've got the asset producer, maybe the agency, could be your in-house creatives. Then, of course, the approval of the content, which is legal, regulatory, medical. Is this medical claim true? Will this vaccine create autism or not? Can I legally sign this off? Then, once it's signed off, can I move this asset to the particular asset inventory, which, in argument's sake, is this digital asset management system? Once approved, how do I get this content out of my approval into my channel payload or production and out to the consumers by the various channels. So those are the challenges. And of course, it's easy to get your digital asset in to your DAM, but how easy is it to get it out and delivered at speed? So, as we go to after, and many of you will be probably using some of these systems or trying to sell some of these systems. Asset production, we're now using content authoring capabilities, which means we're able to automate a lot of that digital build, and especially when we are using HTML assets, automate the generation of that HTML code at speed, in-house, without the need for using coding. That means we're able to reuse that content, have that content re-expressed, and also localize that content across many markets. And to simplify, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, you can make changes to it. Once you hit the save button, you can save that as a PowerPoint. In our case, you can make the changes and hit the button and save it as a website. So all the coding, all the content, all the metadata, all the auto tagging is done automatically at desktop level by brand or marketing manager. And that content is then delivered and passed through to a combined medical, legal, regulatory approval system, which means the legal person in that company is reviewing that content, digitally signing off. The regulatory person and the medical persons are saying, yep, this is medically sound, this is medically true. And within this system, we're able to have the content from all of the countries where once we begin that review, we're able to pick up some information and notifications. This is a woman. This brand is Soroxat. This is a woman smiling. This content item is a reference. We notice that because of the structure. This professor is talking about this content item. This is the key message that's associated with that photograph. And here are 8 different suggestions, 4 of which are coming from Spain, 2 from Germany, that you might like to use here in the UK as you are building and reviewing that asset. We're also able to see which person, which agency has signed off on that asset, and how many changes and review cycles those assets have gone through. Then we're able to, of course, within that system, deliver and store that content and deliver that content to all of the different markets, and then, of course, pass that approved content straight through to asset inventory. And then from there, those clever CRM systems most of you will be using and familiar with, we're able to take that finished content, of course, pass it through to our channel payload and out to consumer. However, the journey doesn't end there, because once we've broadcast that content, either by sales rep, medical professional, TV, radio, or PR, because we've tagged that data, we're able to take that data of usage in the field back to our CRM system. And once we have done the analytics of the performance of that brand and the usage and all of that customer interaction, we are then able to take that data back, and as I've mentioned at the very beginning, with efficient, fast content authoring capabilities, redo or redesign that campaign within a month, whereas before it's taken 4 months, which is the equivalent of your Grand Prix Ferrari changing car wheels. So the content velocity now becomes a competitive advantage, because you're able to deliver compliant, traceable, larger volumes of the right sorts of content to your consumers. And because you're dealing with physicians, your systems need to be able to deal with smaller and smaller segments of people. And many organizations have their DAM systems, CRM systems set up, so they are not able to do that. And for agencies, of course, we're able to make more money generating more content, whereas that wasn't the case before. So when we are going to build a system, where would we start? I would certainly advocate starting from the bottom up, meaning, of course, you've got to have your legal, regulatory and medical infrastructure in place. So when your OxyContin goes wrong, FDA and the lawyers can come in. Who talked about OxyContin having no side effects? Which person signed off on that? Can you show me the video or the FDA clinical published paper that said OxyContin has no side effects? And then people can happily go off to jail and pay for what they've done. Have that in place first. Then, I advocate, before we even look at spending $100 million, $50 million on your CRM system, have your digital asset management system in place. We're starting from the bottom up. And that's a slight change in philosophy, and I'm only saying this because it's based on evidence I've seen and the way that we've made it work. Because obviously, if you've not got the right kind of content going out there, then you're not reaching your customers as you need them to. Obviously, your CRM system comes in, but in all cases, your content must talk to your CRM system somehow. And the agencies producing it must produce content that's going to talk to your CRM system. If it doesn't, don't even talk to them. Find someone who can. Because then you won't get your sales automation, you won't get your marketing automation, and then you won't get the volume of data being produced from your tagged assets, which are going to drive your artificial intelligence, which is all of the analysis and the next best actions and the predictive analytics, which is where things will be going next. So, a couple of slides left. Takeaways here. If you are talking about working in digital asset management, someone may say to you in the pub or the restaurant, what's that? Why is it important? Well, your CRM systems won't exist without it. Your customers won't get the content they require. And it's key for our organization to bridge the gap between the brand value we've got and what the customer is receiving. And without the right digital asset management, artificial intelligence and decision making will not exist. And then if you get a bit drunk later on in the evening, digital asset management, yeah, powers artificial intelligence, and leave it at that. People will glaze over and they'll just say, wow, fantastic. So, finally, your brand manager, your marketing manager, someone in Singapore or Malaysia or Germany or Greenland, they've got to use these systems. And if it sounds easy and if it looks easy, then they will adopt it. Because at the end of the day, we need all of those internal consumers with workflows and processes and systems to use and deliver the content they require where it needs to be. So if you spent £5 million on a campaign and you have the assets and it's locked in your digital asset management system, it's not doing anyone, anywhere, any good. So that brand manager, marketing manager, needs to somehow reuse, re-express that content, deliver that content where it needs to be, and also improve that content. Final slide. Some early benefits. Yes, the systems were up and running in a year, of course. That's why I'm stood here before you. Certain system payback in under a year, and most of that was around the clever content authoring of the technologies which reduced the costs of producing those assets by around 75%. Where else? Shared assets across different markets. The central assets which were being produced by Global HQ, the utilization in market went up from 5% to 80%. And that was only because those markets were able to make the tweaks, swap out the videos, use clever on-the-fly HTML translation techniques to do localizations, a whole bunch of other things. 70% increase in affiliate adoption and usage of those assets, and I won't talk through the workflows that enable that to happen. And of course, an increase in brand and sales rep impact in the field. And of course, in pharmaceuticals, we're not allowed to say we're doing this to make money. The expression is allowing physicians to make the right decisions to allow more patients to have access to more of the therapies which will help enhance their lives. So I'm going to close at that point because I know we're running short of time and coffee's coming later. The slides are very text heavy, and I know you'll receive those a bit later, so you could read through those at your leisure. DAM-driven commercial campaigns to support commercial impact. Again, you will, of course, with your artificial intelligence, you will be talking about digital asset management, strengthening the commercial effectiveness of your organizations. So it's all around how you pitch this digital asset management imperative and how you communicate that to people on the board that don't give a damn about DAM, but after we've had a good chat with them, they're willing to spend the millions required to make the whole thing work. So here we are, a couple of articles, a couple of webinars that I've done, a couple of blogs, and find me on LinkedIn. That's it.